boys and girls. Ready for 15.3? We're gonna go ahead and get started. Okay, so this topic, 15-3, is about analyzing and comparing quadrilaterals. So keep that in your mind. It's analyzing quadrilaterals. And we talked about quadrilaterals in 15.1 and 15.2. 4 quarters equals $1. 4 sides equals 1 quadrilateral. 4 sides, 1 quadrilateral. Okay, so I'm going to turn you around. We're going to go ahead and get started with the book. All right, here's our little friend. She says, describe 2 things that are the same in all or some of these shapes. Describe 2 things that are different. So 2 things same, 2 things different. So let's look at the shapes. Ooh. Well, if it says analyze and compare quadrilaterals, and I'm looking to see, oh, they all have 4 sides. So I'm going to say same. We have 4 sides. And let's see. This one doesn't have a parallel set, so I can't say that about it. They all have 4 angles. I could say 4 sides and 4 angles. All right, let's say what's different. Whoop. All right, 2 things that are different about the group. I do know that A, B, and C are parallelograms, but D and E are not. So A, B, and C are, maybe not C. C, well, it's kind of hard to tell in the book. We're going to just say he's parallel. And we have D and E or not. They don't have parallel sets of sides, okay? This one has 1 set. This one does not have any set of parallel sides, okay? All right, let's look at the look back. Look back. Draw a quadrilateral that is different from all the quadrilaterals above. Tell how it is different, okay? So we have square, rhombus, parallelogram, trapezoid, and he looks like a kite, I'm assuming. He looks like a kite, and we just say he's a convex shape. And one that is not here at all. Well, I know I didn't name a rectangle. And how is he different from the shapes above? Well, a square and a rhombus have equal sides. So I know he's a parallel sides. And he also has opposite sides are the same length. Not all sides the same length. Opposite sides are the same length. He also has right angles. So that's another thing that we can say about him. I'm going to go ahead and add it. He has right angles. Okay? And that's it. So there you go. Right angles, parallel sides, opposite sides are the same lengths. Okay? All right. Next. All right. So this is the Convince Me. This is the teaching page. I'm only going to look at letter A because letter A is actually going to help me on the next page. Okay? So I'm just going to take a look. It says, what are the different ways you can classify the quadrilaterals shown below? Okay, well, this is my favorite right here. He's our concave boomerang. We have a convex. We have parallelograms. He's different because he has all sides are parallel. He also looks like a rhombus to me. Okay, square, that they're related to each other. All sides are equal. E and G are rectangles. They have right angles. F, I don't believe he is a rectangle. He looks like a parallelogram. I is convex, or he might be a sideways kite. And then H is a trapezoid. Okay. On the Convince Me, it says, which of the shapes above can you cover with unit squares and not have any gaps or overlaps? What attributes do the shapes have in common? Okay. So shapes that we can cover with unit squares. Now we've learned about unit squares when we talked about area. We also talked about arrays, and we did an activity where we made area out of Cheez-Its. That was fun. Now, which one of these shapes could we do that with? It would have to be a shape that we would imagine have very small little squares, and it would have to be even. So it can't be on one of these because it would get stuck in these little corners. It would have to be a shape that had all right angles, and that would be D, G, and E. Or if we want to write it in order, D, E, and G. Okay, and those are our parallelograms. So what do they have in common? Well, not parallelograms, they all have right angles. Doo-doo-doo. Okay, moving on to our guided practice. Okay, which shape on the previous page, I told you we're going to look at it again, is a rhombus but not a rectangle? So rectangles have right angles. Rectangle, right angle. Rhombuses don't have to have right angles. Okay, so we're going to look for a true rhombus with no right angles. All right, let's take a look. Well, these two green ones we said were rhombuses, and this was a square, and this was the true rhombus. Okay, so we're going to say B because it has no right angles, but all sides are the same. Same length when I say same. Okay? Number 2, can you have a square trapezoid? Explain. For Miss Katie's class, now I looked it up, it's possible that you can have one, but for Miss Katie's class and for 3rd grade, we're gonna say no, because by our definition, squares have 2 sets of parallel sides. Okay, trapezoid has 1 set. Dun, da, da, da. Boop. All right, number 3. Which shapes on the previous page are not parallelogram? They're not a rectangle, not a rhombus, not a square. Oh my goodness. All right, not parallelogram. So not B, not D, not F, not G, not E. Okay, not a rectangle or rhombus. Well, parallelogram takes care of all 3 of those. Okay, so what shapes are left? We got our concave, we got our convex, trapezoid, and I think he's a kite. So our answer is A, C, H, and I. Okay. Number 4, what attributes does a square have? Because it's always a rectangle. Squares are rectangles. What? That's one of those. My mind is blown. Oh, my mind is blown. Okay, so a square is a rectangle because they both have right angles. That's the only thing. They have to have 4 right angles to make it a square or a rectangle. But the difference is a square has the equal sides. Rectangle doesn't. But to make it a rectangle, it just has to have 4 right angles. Okay? All right. 5 through 9, we're going to be looking at this group of shapes right here. Okay? So these blue shapes. Okay? So we have A through G to look at. So I just want to look at them just for a sec. This looks like a rhombus. He looks like he's a trapezoid. He has a little bit of an angle going on right here. We have convex. We have another rhombus, but he looks kind of like a square because if I turn him like this, definitely a square. We have F is a rectangle, E is a trapezoid, and G is a parallelogram. Okay? So, number 5, it says, has at least 1 set of parallel sides, but is not a parallelogram. Okay? By definition, that would be my trapezoid. Okay? So that would actually be B and E. Okay, because if you look at it, 1 set. These are not, but these are. Same thing for B. He actually has these 2 are parallel, but this one is not. Okay. Is a quadrilateral, but not a parallelogram or trapezoid. Okay, not parallelogram, not a trapezoid. So it has to be a really weird shape, and there's only one of those that's going to meet that criteria, and that's going to be C. Is a square and not a parallelogram. Okay, so parallelogram is those parallel sides, and it's a square, so it has to have equal, but not a rhombus or anything like that. Not a parallelogram, not a slanted rectangle. So a true square. That's going to be D. Bum, 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 bum. D. Is a rhombus and not a rectangle. Okay, there's two rhombuses on here that are not rectangles. So we have A and D. Because a square is a rhombus. A and D. Is a parallelogram and not a rhombus. So parallelogram and not a rhombus. So no equal sides, and it's parallelogram. So it's going to be F and G because the opposite sides are equal, and it doesn't have all equal sides. So F and G are going to fit that description, that attribute, as they say. Okay? There you go. B, E, C, D, A, D, and F, G. Makes me feel like singing my alphabet. All right, we're going to go straight to the bottom. We're going to do number 14 on page 826. It says, look at these polygons. All right, we have A, B, C, D. We have A that looks like a rectangle, B that has that slanty top, so he's a trapezoid, C is a trapezoid, and D is a parallelogram. Part A, name two attributes that all four polygons have. Well, it looks like they at least have one set of parallel sides. So at least one set, because trapezoids have one, of parallel sides. And I have to follow my directions. It says two attributes. So this is number one. I'm going to separate it with bullets. And they all have four sides. And that is an attribute that makes it a quadrilateral. There you go. At least one set of parallel sides and four sides. All right, part B. Name an attribute that both A and D and B and C do not have. Okay, so A and D have it, but B and C do not. Okay, we're looking. Well, B and C were my trapezoids. A was my rectangle and D was my parallelogram. So A and D have two sets of parallel sides, but B and C do not. Okay? A and D are parallelograms and B and C are not. Okay? So two sets of parallel sides. Bum, 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 bum. All right. And that's it. That's it for 15.3. It was really quick. All right. Stay tuned. 15.4 is going to be coming right up. So, all right. See you in a minute.